Welcome to your Voice Your Impact show, where authentic voices spark real change and bold conversations lead to lasting impact.
That's right. This is a space where we amplify ideas, celebrate stories, and challenge mindsets, because every voice matters and every story has the power to transform.
Whether you're a dreamer, a doer, a change maker, or someone simply figuring it out, we are here for you. Each week, we bring inspiring guests, thought-provoking conversations, and powerful insights to help you own your voice and leave your impact.
I am the energetic EJ, a life and transformational coach, a podcaster, and an event host. I work with women who are accomplished to turn their success into legacy influence.
Hi, my name is Olawale Afolabi, but many know me as Scott Unlimited. I'm a seasoned compere and orator par excellence, passionate about connecting people through words and purpose. Beyond the mic, I'm a business intelligence professional driven by insight, strategy, and impact.
My name is Grace So Amazing. I am an integrative life coach. I help my clients align their psychological, social, and physical well-being. I am the founder of Friends Lean On Global Foundation, a non-governmental organization that is centered on educating people about mental and emotional well-being. Like,
subscribe,
and share. Welcome. Yes. Welcome to another episode on your Voice Your Impact show. We already told you as of yesterday that this week is loaded, it's packed full. So I want to apologize for my network today. For some reason, it's so pixelated. I don't know. I think maybe my bandwidth is something is wrong somewhere, but just please bear with me. But let me know if you're here and you can hear me. Kindly let me know so that I'm able to, I know that we're together on this, even though my what's it called now? My camera, my video is somehow, I don't know. I'm trying to see if I can do anything about it. Okay, but it's looking like we're stuck with this one. But we'll see how it goes. Hopefully the network gets a little bit better as we go along. But thank you so much for joining us today. Wherever you're joining us from, whether it is LinkedIn or Instagram or YouTube, please let me know. Just say hi in the comments and kindly do confirm that you can hear me right now. I would really appreciate that feedback so that we don't go on speaking, and then, you can't hear us, okay? So kindly confirm that you can hear me, whether you're listening on, watching on LinkedIn, on Instagram, or on YouTube. Please let me know in the comments. I would really appreciate that. I'm trying to look at the comments on Instagram to see if anybody is saying anything so that I can know. Okay, I don't see any comments coming in yet, but please do me well by just letting me know you can hear me. All right, so today on the show, we're still in the Movember movement. It's the month for mental health for men, and so our conversation this month is around the Movember movement, which is talking about men's mental health. And we've had a couple of conversations already. We kicked off the conversation by talking about vulnerability and how easy or hard it is for men to show vulnerability or to be vulnerable, and why some men have just kind of retracted or withdrawn back into their shells because they've attempted to be vulnerable and got burnt, right? Okay, thank you so much, Sammy. Sammy Abdelkafi says, I can hear and see you. Not great quality, but it works. I know. I apologize. I think it could be my network, so please just bear with me today. but I'm glad that you can hear me. So let's go with that. But of course, by the time my guests come on, you'll be able to see him clearly. And so maybe what I'll do is reduce my face so that we see more of his face and you're able to enjoy the show visually as well. But I'm glad you can hear me clearly. All right. So yeah, so we'll be talking about the Movember movement. And before I bring on our guest today, I just want to put this out there again, that beyond these conversations that we're having on the show, we're also running a challenge. We're currently running a challenge, and I just want to invite you to be a part of it if you can. And what is the challenge? We've tagged it 60 for Men Challenge, meaning that we want you to take out 60 seconds out of your busy schedule, out of your packed day, to say a word to a man, okay? And do that in video format, and possibly share to us directly. You can send to me directly. If you're on LinkedIn, you can send to me in my DM, and we will post that on the page, your Virtual Impact page on LinkedIn. We are now on LinkedIn as a page, so thank you so much. Please do follow us on that page. But also on Instagram, if you're watching on Instagram, you can make a post on Instagram and tag us as a collaborator, or you might as well send us the video and we will share and tag you as a collaborator. Essentially, what we're doing with this challenge is to go beyond the conversation, to take an action towards encouraging men to break the silence, to speak about their burdens. And I know, I'm not discrediting the fact that some of them have been burnt in the past, but there's an adage in Africa, in Nigeria specifically, that says that the solution to a headache or to a migraine is not cutting off the head. So because you're having a nagging headache does not mean you should cut off your head as a solution. It means, what it simply means is, as much as the headache is resistance to whatever you're currently using, you keep trying out other, means, other drugs until you get a solution. So this is what we're saying, that as a people, because at the end of the day, even though we're dedicating this month to men, we cannot talk about men in isolation. They are surrounded by people, by women alike, right? So it's a combination. It's a collaborative effort, right? So we're just inviting you to, put out a voice, whether you're encouraging men or you're celebrating a man in your life, or you're just saying a word to associate, as a man, to say, you know what, I see you, I hear you, I feel your pain, and I'm rooting for you. So that is the 60 for Men Challenge. We invite you to be a part of that. And also, we've added an addition to it. We're opening up some slots for psychotherapy. By one of my co-hosts is a therapist, practicing therapist. And so we're giving out some slots, some free slots for as many men as would reach out to say, you know what, I need to talk to somebody. So please do be a part of that. If you know somebody who would love that or who would benefit from that, also let them be a part of that. That's out of the way. I'm eager to get into this conversation today with our guest, Dr. Hatem Goucha. I've been listening to his book, and I can tell you for free that you need a copy of that book in your hands. And if you are an auditory learner like myself, then you want to get the audio on Audible. It's been amazing. I want to say he did a fantastic job of narrating this one by himself. I've gotten to know a little bit more about him from the audiobook. So I'm eager to also get some, almost like, yes, we're recounting some of the things that are in the book, but get it from him directly. And so as we talk about living by design, not by default, we're going to be drawing strength from some of the rich share that he has in his book, which is, being made from, the book just flew, the title just flew out of my head. No, I'm going to get this right. Become who you are meant to be, right? So we're going to extract insight from the book, Become Who You Are Meant to Be, to talk about this topic of living by design and not by default. And so I'm super excited to have this conversation today. So without further ado, I would love to bring up on this virtual stage today my guest, Dr. Hatem Goucha. Hello, Dr. Hatem. How are you today?
Hello, thank you. Thank you for the nice introduction.
Thank you so much for being here. I want to apologize for my my crazy network, but please just bear with me. We're going to manage and have some fun today. So I'll just leave it this way so that we have you more focused on your visuals. But how are you feeling today, Doctor?
I'm feeling very good. Thank you. The introduction, the whole element of Movember and men's mental health is very important, and I'm very, very much aware of it and of all the issues that men are facing today. And I'm very happy that you brought me on this platform to share a little bit of my story of my book and my experience with mental health, positive experience.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for writing the book. It's been an amazing listen for me. And I can't wait for us to talk about some of the things that you shared. But before we go into the conversation, I would love for people to know more about you. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, who you are, what you're doing right now, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Very good. Thank you. My name is Hatem. I am an executive coach based out of Abu Dhabi in the UAE. Prior to being in the UAE, I spent most of my life in the United States. I went to school in the United States, graduated from University of Texas, Austin with a doctorate, and I immediately joined Bechtel Corporation, which is a very large engineering procurement construction company. And I stayed with them 26 years. And this is actually part of what I talk about in my book. I stayed with them 26 years. It was a full life. It was very exciting. I became who I am thanks to all that experience. But then at some point, I decided to switch and to become a coach, to follow my dream. And there is the story in my book, is how I made the transformation from successful project manager for Bechtel to successful executive coaching business in the UAE. And all the mental emotions, all the transformational alchemy that happens when you do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what better way to segue into the conversation today? And I mean, when we talk about when you, because you just mentioned at the beginning, like, you know, you're well aware of the Movember movement, as well as the mental health awareness for men. When you think about that, what comes to mind for you when you think about men's mental wellness? What comes to mind for you, whether it's based on your experience as a person, as a man yourself, or in addition to you being a coach and working with other men? And I know that from your book, you've also experienced or had this experience of being a mentor to both young men all through your career. So when you think about the subject of mental health, what comes to mind for you? How do you envision, or how do you look at, what's your perspective on it?
The first word that comes to mind when I hear the words men's mental health is pressure, immense pressure. Men are going through tremendous pressure from society, from expectations, from what their role should be in as a parent, as a husband, as a as a leader, or as an employee. Tremendous pressure of always forward, always winning, always providing. There's no relenting. And when I think of the word mental health, I cannot help but feel empathy about that, because it is tremendous pressure, and it starts very young. I'm working with high school students who are under pressure to select a career, or to start taking courses in a certain direction in their life. Again, amazing pressure, even at the age of 15, 16, 17, especially on men, to make sure that they get it right from the beginning. So that's what I see. The second thing I that comes to mind is loneliness, and a lot of men today against this pressure feel lonely and don't have the support system that our original tribal system and family systems in other still valid in other parts of the world, but not in the Western world today. So significant pressure, no support system. It's going to end up in anxiety, burnout, depression, all of these symptoms that we are seeing now today, even as much as suicidal.
Wow, I love this two angle that you brought and the two words that comes to mind for you, which is pressure and loneliness. Woof, so tough. And it's interesting. I love also that you're currently working with young men, right? Because so when we had this conversation yesterday with another, guest, he came from a different angle. And again, what we do on the show, it's why the show is called Your Voice, Your Impact. Meaning that everyone has their own voices, right? And it's based on their experiences, correct? So we can't discount everyone's experience. So it's just that it's interesting when we see from other people's perspective. And so our guest yesterday, for example, was from the perspective or the way that he grew up was in a very, very strong or rooted masculine environment, right? Where men are brought up to be like, it's your responsibility. So why are you, so it's almost like there is no room for, why are you trying to negotiate your way out of your responsibility? Like you need to man up and, and it's right? But even though the conversation went a little bit, like I've got some feedback, like, no, I don't feel it. But at the end of the day, it's his experience and he's sharing from his point of view. And he's not outrightly saying that, empathy should not be there, but it's almost just like saying that at the end of the day, we need to toughen up and we need to put ourselves in a place where our mental agility is grounded, because it is in the absence of that then we fall into this, other emotions that kind of lead south, right? But now you've mentioned very important factors, which is pressure and loneliness, which is what most men feel, even from a very young age.
Even from a young age, correct.
What would you say is the root of this from your work and your experience? Would you say there is a root to this? Because at the end of the day, when we talk about these things, I think it's important that we go back to the root or to the root or to the beginning, because that's when we know, okay, this is where people are missing it, or this is where the shift happened. And if we're able to go back to basics and fix it from here, then it would affect the outcome. So what would you say is this source or this root cause of this pressure and the loneliness that men feel?
So there are many causes. One key cause, in my experience, is the detachment from the group, the detachment from the tribe that is there to support you. So from a young age, like I grew up most of my early life in the United States. And I got the memo that, once you finish high school, you're on your own. You figure out how to pay your rent. You figure out how to make friends. You figure out how to, succeed in university, how to get a job. There's very little support from anyone from the get-go. This is different in other societies, although that too is changing due to the globalization. But I would say that is one of the root causes, is that we are taught from a very young age, 17, 18, that's it. You're now an adult and you fend for yourself. And then you go out there and there's all these messages in the media, in advertising, in social media that says you have to be number one. You have to, nobody's coming to save you. These cliches are very, very isolating and creating this feeling of being alone, that I either figure out by myself or I'm going to wither or die or whatever it is that your mind is imagining as a worst case scenario.
Right, and I think that's it's interesting that you said that, which is that detachment. And again, like you said, it's different for every culture, right?
It is.
Yeah, it is different for every culture, and I think for me, it's why in place, so some cultures, have this ingrained what's it called now? Is it communism, where everyone is together, and so you never get to, it's before you feel lonely, it's like later on in your age, and by that time you probably also are starting your own family, so there's really no gaps in between. But I feel like the modern day has given us this, has opened us up to these gaps. For example, students have to go away from home to school in another country, and they're separated from their parents. And then from the school age, they have to figure life out, right? Then we have parents migrating due to jobs. And so kids have to move around with their parents and not getting to build that root,
Correct.
where they were. And so all of these are happening. With this is just like, this is life. Life is changing. Things are changing,
Yeah,
How
I agree. What you're saying is absolutely true.
Right. How
Yeah.
then can we cushion this life transitions and changes that almost feel like, to an extent, they are out of our control? So especially for the younger ones, their parents have to move, they have to move. For the older ones, yes, they might have choices, but at the end of the day as well, everyone is looking for a greener pasture. So sometimes the choices they have to make might feel like, my hands are tied. This is the only option. If I don't get out now, this is it for me. How can we cushion all of these life transitions and changes in life to help us kind of close the gap that men feel that causes that pressure and the loneliness? And then, feel free to tap from your book, and we'll
Yes.
get into your book very soon. But go ahead.
This is a good segue
Right.
into the first two chapters of my book. The first is becoming aware of the imposter syndrome, which is very much connected to this pressure and loneliness. And the second chapter is self-awareness. And both of these are fundamental to answer your question. So in order to bridge that gap of all these pressures and the movement and the being alone, away from your family, is self-awareness. Self-awareness is critical, and by self-awareness I mean knowing the intimate aspects of your person, of your likes, your dislikes, what triggers you, what pleases you, what makes you tick, what motivates you, what demotivates you. All of these things require a self-reflection, to look back at events and to figure out, I don't like being in this country, for example. It demotivates me, but then you look for things in that environment that motivate you, so that you can you don't just become a victim, that you also say, okay, I don't like this language, learn the language, or the religion, or whatever it is that you don't like. However, I love nature in here, right? And I segue into nature because it is so critical for self-awareness. I believe that the best way to reach self-awareness is self-reflection, but also being alone in nature. And solitude is an intentional act of being with yourself, so that you can have better thoughts with yourself, especially if you're in the middle of nature. So nature in itself is calming, and especially forests and greenery and fresh air and grass and trees. in itself is very calming and relaxing. But if on top of that you are by yourself walking, trekking in nature, like I explained in my book, that happened to me in the Tennessee Smoky Mountain National Park, that's where I really had a chance to find myself and to become stronger, to find that inner strength that I was kind of not very much aware of for many, many years. And once you find that strength, once you realize who you truly are, then you can face the pressure, and then you're not afraid of loneliness because you have that internal compass, that internal companion that is always there for you. And back to now the imposter syndrome, which is connected to pressure and loneliness. If there is tremendous pressure for you to perform, and if you don't have a support system, you're going to revert to self-talk and talking like, I'm not enough, this is not for me, I'm not cut out for this, this is not enough, because you don't have that support system, and you don't have that internal compass, which is self-awareness, to guide you through saying, no, I know myself, I know I've done something like this before, so keep going. So that is how you, in my experience, that's how you build yourself to withstand the pressure and to understand that loneliness is only a temporary situation, and that you can always find a support system, and that you always have yourself as a steady foundation to go from.
I love it. I love it. Self-awareness, solitude, spending time with yourself in nature. We need to move out of the house.
By the way, it doesn't have to be forest. I spent time in the desert here in the UAE, and it has the same effect. It's this feeling of grandeur. It's this feeling of freshness, of like infinite, dunes and beautiful life spark, coming up through the sand. It's incredible. You become in a state of awe for what's happening around you. And when you are in a state of awe, it digs into a lot of your inner power, inner strength. And that's how it comes out. That's why spending time in nature by yourself will inevitably, if you keep doing it, will inevitably develop a new relationship with yourself.
Right. And I think that's so important, because we don't say this enough, but a lot of people can't even stand themselves. Like, they can't stay alone for 5 minutes, talk more an hour. Like, it's like, I'm bored. I need to do something. I need to talk to somebody, But like you said, it's going to take intentionality. It's going to take practice. It's going to take you doing it over and over again. But the beauty of it is, the moment you fall in love with it, oh my goodness, it's like, it's a journey of no return, right?
Magic. So it's alchemy. Really, it's alchemy. You become, that's the point of my book, is if you pay attention to all these things that you're going through, and you become aware of what's going on in your life, and you become aware of the inner power that you have, that we all have,
right?
Then the transformation happens by itself. And what my book does is, it happened to me. I moved from, this person, corporate America, to this person, freedom, expression, and really expressing what I'm conceived for. That transformation, I actually reverse engineered it, how it happened. There were steps, including the first 2 steps that I talked about, how I understood I had imposter syndrome and how I turned it for the good, how I understood myself through building self-awareness in solitude, and then so on. And then it goes to the next step, which is life purpose. You try to figure out what is your life purpose using my approach, which is the golden thread. Then you learn how to see what signs are life is giving you, life signpost, exactly. And then making decisions, right? Making decisions is a big part. I'm an engineer. I'm a project manager. My life has been making decisions. And I turn that knowledge and that experience into how you make decision about the difficult aspects of your life. And I tell you exactly how you make the decision, who you seek advice from, what are the inner talk that you need to combat and be aware of when you're making these decisions. And so that is a journey that I describe in my book. And once you go through
Absolutely.
that journey, I'll go to the cherry on the cake. Then you get to the last two chapters, which tell you, if you go through this and you are indeed finding what you are designed for, who you're meant to be, you will start experiencing all of these very, very positive things in life that come because you are in synchrony and in congruence with what's around you. That is where I'll leave it. I don't want to say too much about that, but that's what you're looking for as you get to the end of the book, EJ.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that your book is fantastic. And I love the simplicity of it, of how it breaks down this, steps you've just highlighted, but also how you wove your story into it, from moving, from Tunisia to the US at a very young age, getting into school, and just being that young man who people come to, this thread of always being there to listen, to guide, to support. It's that thread that has just been there to know that you are called to be a coach, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I want you to tie back into purpose, right? Your life's purpose. Yes. How does that play into, because the way I see it, right? When you have when you are clear on the purpose which you exist, right? It gives you direction. It gives you a reason to wake up every morning. And even on the bad days, on the days where you don't feel like doing anything, you don't feel like talking to anyone, you don't feel like you just want to exist, and I've been there a couple of times. But it's this purpose that helps you say, girl, you can't stay here for too long. I empathize with you. I know you're having a rough season. You're having a rough day, a rough week, a rough month. But no, this is not what we're about. We have a destination. Get up, and let's get moving. Right. So first of all, can you define purpose? And then how does having a clear purpose help somebody to be mentally stable? Can you help clarify that?
Yeah, very, very good question. So, so purpose is that for which you are ideally suited to do. And the good news is it doesn't have to be just one thing. It could be more than one thing. And it could be different things at different stages of your life. So you don't just, you're born and you have a purpose and you get it done and you die. No, it's not like that. It's every part of your journey, you are built in a certain way, you're intelligent in a certain way, you're agile in a certain way, and there's something that if you do it, you're going to do it effortlessly at that phase of your life. And I explain in my book that the golden thread is that the best way to find that one thing that you can do effortlessly, that you can do, and people look at you and say, wow, that is so good. You are so good at this. And when you do it, you don't see time pass, right? You're fully in the moment. You're fully in the present while you're doing this. Like when I coach someone, I forget everything. I'm in that zone, right? In that living in the moment, paying attention to everything that's going on with that individual, with the language, with the body language. And that is what I do effortlessly. And when you find that, and the hint is to go back to your childhood, when you find that activity that you do, then everything becomes effortless and you start enjoying life more, because if the more you do that thing, the easier it becomes, and also the more enjoyment of life you have. So life purpose is unique to everyone. It changes with time, but it's connected to your talent, your skills that grew through your childhood. So you go back to when you were 7, 8, 9, 10, and you look through pictures or try to talk to your sisters and brothers or your parents, and you figure out what was it that I did that you enjoyed watching me do, that you were impressed at how easily I did it, that came naturally, effortlessly. And you'd be surprised. You will find one or two or sometimes three things that emerge from the lot from your childhood, and journal those things. It doesn't mean that those are your purpose, but they are a hint. They're a guiding element as to what you should be doing, either as a main activity in your life or as a hobby. And when you do those things, you bring them back into your life, whether it's poetry or writing music or playing an instrument or going on retreats or going to nature, observing animals, whatever it is. Like it's not like a job or a function. It's an activity that you do very easily. Once you start doing it again, you bring it back to your life, then magic starts to happen. Then you start running into synchronicities and good coincidences, and those will take you to that thing that you could be doing again, either as your main activity or as a hobby. But my point in chapter 3 in Life Purpose is figure out that thing that you forgot about when you were a kid, that nature, that society and the pressures and loneliness has made you forget that pursuing the money made you forget that. Go back to it and bring it back into your life. And it will be the guide, and it will open opportunities and doors for you to figure out what is your true life purpose in that phase of your life.
Absolutely. I love it. For the longest time, I struggled with this topic of purpose. Oh my God, am I here? Why am I here? What am I doing? This thing I'm doing, is it my purpose? But it's relieving to know that your purpose is not one thing.
It's not. And
it changes as you evolve. Not drastically. And for some, it's just drastic. Like you changing from one industry completely to another. But then, like you said, that golden thread is there. Because while you were in corporate America, within the skill as a project manager, you were actually coaching. You were coaching your colleagues. You were coaching your subordinates. You were coaching the people who reported to you. But then you were able to then, find that thread over here. Now, I want you to just touch on our topic today, which is living by design and not by default. If you were going to put that in as a short clip right now, how would you describe it? How would you describe living by design versus living by default? Yeah.
It's a very, very good statement. Very, very inspiring to me, even as I accepted this invite to the podcast. It was very good. It could have been the title of my book, to be honest. Living by design means that you are living within the natural design of your own self, of your body, of your mind, of your brain, of your lived experience. All of that means that there is something or more than one thing that you should be doing, right? Then I did that, even if it's not your purpose. I was very good at analytics, at math, at pattern recognition, at complex problem solving. I was very good at that. And it was part of my success at Bechtel, is that I applied that for that purpose. So in many different segments of my life when I was working for Bechtel, I was living by design. I was applying some of the things that I had, some of the skills and talents to make things better for whatever that instance, that project, that country, whatever it was. I was a great value add, because I leveraged things that were given to me as gifts and that I developed over time. So the bigger living by design, though, is to actually figure out the one thing that is beyond all of that. And for me, it's coaching, guiding, mentoring, team performance, high performance team development. And when you hit that, you get to a different level. So you could have a satisfactory life where you apply things on a daily basis, you focus, you learn things and you apply them. but as long as you're not by default, right? By default means it's whatever comes to you, you do it. Whatever opportunity knocks on your door, you follow it, right? That's by default. And you are not in control. You are not using your capabilities at their best. Even if you're making money, that's not by design. That's by default. Living by design is being aware of who you are, being aware of what you have accumulated so far, being aware of your biases, of your imposter syndrome, and shedding all of that and figuring out your true, deep, powerful self and apply that by design to your life, to your parenting, to your activity that you pick, to your hobby, even to your political activity, to your religious activity, community activity, whatever it is. Enrich your life. Use all those talents that you have. And we all have talents, okay? Use those talents that you discover through self-awareness and put them to good use. And that's living by design.
Love it. Woo, so good. So good. So good. Now, I wanted to touch on signposts because it's important, right? In the way that you the story you told in your book about, how, you were here for a while, you were in the Middle East for a while, and then you moved back to, the US, and then your kids, were the one who pointed back, like, you know what, this is it, this is what we want, right? And that was one of the signposts that brought you back to the Middle East. But tell us, maybe you could recount that story, but what I want you to do here is using the concept of life signposts, to explaining it to anyone watching this right now on how, say, for example, this person you're talking to is already in that place where the pressure is getting to them, the loneliness is hitting deep, and they're already on that pathway to silence, to saying, you know what, this is it, that they're tilting towards that road. How would you speak to them using the concept of life signpost to help them find their way back to the light rather than walk into the darkness?
Yes, very good question. So the most natural way you start paying attention and seeing like signs that are happening around you that are actually meant for you, right, is by developing the prior aspects, becoming more in tune with yourself. First, you have to know yourself very well. Have that monkey mind calm down, that your inner talk is not as active as before. You're not constantly doubting, repeating, checking, that you are more kind of have more equanimity in your everyday, and that you have put some effort into figuring out, why am I here? What am I here to do? Usually when you go through those steps, the first 3 chapters, like the signposts start showing up, right? You start becoming more attuned to them, because what are they? They're just coincidences. They're observation that you normally would not have paid attention to, but you actually see it. And so you cannot just go from being under pressure and feeling lonely to seeing life signposts, although sometimes life will give you a very big jolt, usually bad, an accident, or that will make you think, that will wake you up and put you on a fast track through self-awareness and life purpose. And we know these stories. They make books and movies out of them, where somebody loses a child, God forbid, to a disease, and they realize, oh my gosh, this is meaningful. I need to help the world understand this disease better, and that becomes their call to action. So that happened. This is not what my book is talking about. My book is talking about those very, very small, like as soon as I started being in nature and understanding myself better, I started paying attention to coincidences, to synchronicities, meaning 2 things that are happening at the same time, apparently not connected, but your conditioning, it has a meaning in your conditioning for those things. Once you become more attuned to yourself, then you can become more attuned to what's happening. So the example you were mentioning I'll talk about in brief in chapter 4, is that there were four signs that led me to make my decision. So you kind of go through the first, the second, the third, the fourth, and then by this time you just say, oh my gosh, if anything happens after this, that's it. I know it means that I have to either resign or make this or that decision. So one of the signs happened to me is I think it was the third one, very, very clear, is I was a project manager on a government project in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I have 3 area project managers reporting to me. Well, in October, like 22 and 23 October, both of them resigned one day after another without talking to each other. They both, there was no like event that happened that caused them to resign. They just made their decisions independently. And on Monday, Misty came, and on Tuesday, Jim came, and it was clearly, I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody's trying to tell me something here, because I was a project manager, and my job was to help them succeed. And when 2 of your top players leave on the same, the 2 consecutive days like this, you can't help but think, oh my, what's going on here? Like, what is the world trying to tell me? And it was one of the signs. And if you then step back and connect it to other things that happened before, and one thing that happened later, which is what you mentioned, that my children wanted to go to the UAE, then your decision becomes easier. It's still a tough decision, but it's easier. You say to yourself, well, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and it's kind of guiding me. It's giving me hints and tips. Life is giving you tips, but you have to pay attention. You have to learn how to pay attention, and that's how tougher decision becomes easier. And that's the value of that chapter in my book.
Love it. I think your book is such a great resource for anyone, and especially in this month that we're talking about the men's mental health, because it kind of breaks down the things that you can do to ground yourself, to stay grounded. And I don't think we can say this enough about self-awareness. It is where everything begins. Like, it is, to be honest, I feel like I can categorically say, from my experience, from the books I've read, from coaching, from the experiences I've had and conversations that I've had with people, I can categorically say that self-awareness is the beginning of your success. Because if you do not know yourself, if you're not aware of who you are, what makes you think, what triggers you, if you don't graduate, like my coach would say, if you don't graduate, well, you never do graduate, but like if you don't become a master's in the university called you, there is little, like there is so much you're going to be holding back, and there is little that you're going to achieve compared to what you could have achieved. So self-awareness is such a huge topic that is inexhaustive, but I love how simplified your book broke it down. It's, for me especially, I got sold from imposter syndrome, like, oh my God, okay. This topic of imposter syndrome, okay. Like,
it is. Thank you. I made it a point of recounting stories and lessons that I experienced that worked. They had an impact. So this book, unlike any other self-help book in this category, is the story of the author, not a framework, not a theoretical Stanford University study. It's a story of the author, who is an engineer, who is analytical, who was able to look at the emotions, the facts, and piece things together. I call it reverse engineering the story, so you can see how you become from person A to person B, and dispel the myth that transformation is difficult or magical or anything like that. It's very, very useful, practical, and everybody can find themselves in somewhere along that journey. And I appreciate what you say, because that's exactly what I was trying to do. Keep it very simple, keep the stories very short. This book is not about my story. It's about the lessons of my story, which turn out to be, in my experience so far, from all the reviews I'm getting, that is a very, very uniquely human way of moving from step to step. That it's not unique to me. That this is how most humans feel and act when they go through these emotions and these stages.
Right. It's so beautiful. Well, congratulations for
Thank
writing
you.
the book, publishing it, becoming a bestseller, because it is a bestseller, right? Because it's doing the work. It's doing the work that it's meant to do. As we wrap up this conversation, I want you to speak to men. You are a man yourself, right? So speak to your fellow men on this subject of mental health, and especially because the reason we are running the 64 Men Challenge, for example, is because of the staggering statistics about the amount and the number of men that just end it because, they just can't handle it anymore. So I want you to speak to that, speak to those men, and I'm not saying, again, it's like there are people who are here now that they've had series of episodes where that's the thought, but they've not gone ahead to act on it. So speak to them in such a way that pulls them out of that mindset and just probably guide them back to say, you know what, we can do this. There is life, there is hope. And, just speak to your fellow man, from your own experience.
Thanks for this opportunity and this platform. It's a high responsibility, but I'll take it. No matter what people tell you, even people who love you tell you, what society tells you, what the media tell you, you are enough. You are powerful. Your psyche, your heart, your mind is designed to live, thrive, and conquer and do that one thing that you're meant to be doing. The key is to find your inner strength. You have it. I guarantee you have it. But you need the help. You need the coaching. You need the mentoring. You need the brotherly word from a friend. You need to seek out people that you care about, that care about you, or that are professional, that know what they're doing, and get them to allow you to be in a safe enough place without pressure and with someone you can trust, and find your inner strength. Once you find it, the world will be different for you.
Oh, that was so sweet. Okay, I'm going to add that to the 64 Men Challenge. I'm going to cut that clip. I'm going to add it to the 64 Men Challenge.
This works for women too, by the way. This
Absolutely.
This works for women too. It has nothing to do with gender, but men have different kind of pressure than women does. Women have a lot of pressure too. My experiences with the pressure that men experience, and those are the words that came from my heart, and I hope they land well.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, they landed well for me. I'm hoping they land well for anyone who's going to see that clip. Thank you so much, Dr. Hatem, for spending your time with us today, for sharing, and for publishing your book. So how can people get a hold of your book? You can talk about your book for a minute.
Many ways. You can, of course, order it online on Amazon, whether it's in UAE or UK or US. In the UAE, it's available at Magrudi's and Kinokuniya, and you can always reach out to me, DM me, and I will find the best way for you to get the book. And if we are near each other, I would love to meet you and give you a signed copy of my book. So I live in Abu Dhabi, and I travel to Dubai, and I have my own stock of books that I also sell for those who it's easier than to order on Amazon or anything, but they get the signed one.
Yes, I think I need a signed one. I want the signed one, so we have to arrange for that. Please bring the book. Bring the book closer. I know I can see it behind you, but bring it closer on the screen. Yes, Yeah, that's the book. Become Who You Are Meant to Be. I promise you, it's a good read. I promise you. I love that it's in Kinokuniya. So yeah,
and it's not
but I
long.
want
It's
a signed copy. Yeah, it's not so big. It's not so
not
big.
long,
Even
no.
the listen is just about 3 hours plus, 3 hours 30 minutes thereabouts. So yeah. But I want a signed copy, so I'm not going to go to Kinokuniya. We have to arrange for a meeting. I can get a signed copy.
Let's meet, and I'd love to sign it for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate you. And thank you for lending your voice to the Men's Mental Health Month. All right. Have a good day and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I hope that you had a great time in this conversation. It's packed, so you might want to go back and watch the replay again and listen to it again. And please, please, please go get your copy of Become Who You Are Meant to Be by Dr. Hatem Goucha, because that book is beautiful. It's simple. That's what I can tell you. It is simple to digest, simple to understand, simple to apply. So you want to get your copy. You heard here. If you're in the UAE, it's in Kinokuniya. If you're not, it's on Amazon. If you're not a reader and you're a listener, it's on Audible. So it's everywhere. So go get your copy now and listen and come back and tell me how it was for you. I love how he broke down imposter syndrome, like how he spoke about it, how he dealt with it, and how you can easily see how you can deal with it as well. So please grab a copy of that book and you can thank me later. And if you want a signed copy in the UAE, let's arrange it. Maybe we could arrange like a meet and greet for him. That's what I do. We can make it happen. So if you want a copy of the book, especially a signed copy, I can arrange for us to have a meet and greet with Dr. Hatem here in Dubai, so you can get a copy of that book. So if you do want that, let me know. Send me a DM and I'll make it happen. Okay. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. Of course, tomorrow we're back again with another episode on this show. This month is packed, and I'm just happy that we have a lot of men who are speaking to the topic of men's mental health, the Movember movement, and just sharing from their own experiences and their work of life. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.